right, guys, welcome back. Ready to go here. 2023 hitting us hard and heavy. We got Jonathan Flowers with us today. Johnny, what's up?
What's up? What's up?
Ready to start the new season here of, well, a lot of things. The truck series, the new dirt series will be kicking off in a couple weeks. The tour mods, the super late models on Wednesday. We got all that fun stuff to cover. Um, but yeah, we're back, ready to go. Try to get some Nitehawk Weekly Racing Series night podcast in here. We'll try to bring it to them about every Sunday night around 11 o'clock. It should be posted up on the YouTube for them to hear. And we're going to get the duds and studs. We used to have the studs and duds. Now it's duds and studs. So I know that's Flowers' favorite episode, eh?
Yeah, that's definitely the favorite.
Definitely. So, all right, we're going to jump right into it here. Waste no time here tonight. We're going to recap the 203 Truck Series. The new season just started off. They were at the LA Coliseum. Flowers, did you get a chance to watch that race?
No, I actually didn't, but if I know anything about LA Coliseum, uh, it was probably pretty racy.
Yeah, absolutely. So the guys started off. We ended up having in there 13 trucks showed up for that night race there, so that was pretty cool. Notable there is it's a little tiny track, and we looking at some of the guys on the grid there, and your number one pole setter, Josh Barley, out there working his way up there, and I'll share some of these screen here so you can see it, Flowers, of what they got. So Josh qualified number one for Chaos Motorsports, and you'll be able to see that here in just a second. There you go. Your number two guy in qualifying, AJ there. AJ getting it done in that number two spot. So some guys up front that you don't normally see qualifying up front, and they were in the front here in the week number one, Flowers.
Well, it's a new season, a fresh start for these guys, and they're trying to hit it hard.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what you've seen here. And we look at notable there, a guy that's won multiple truck championships in the league, Brandon Parks there, qualified 12th, and didn't really matter because he ended up eventually winning the race. So dominating performance from him, completing all 89 laps and coming in just under 12 incident points. And Brandon Parks, another threat this year for the Truck Series Championship.
Yeah, he's very good in several of the asphalt cars. The trucks, for one, I think I remember him winning in the Silver Crowns as well, the championship.
Yep, so he'll take care of business there. So Brandon Parks picking up the big win in the Truck Series there. Justin Spolden, your title sponsor, in the number two spot, and then Michael Barea bringing it home into three there. So a good night overall for all those drivers out there. And we did go through the consolations and all that because we did. We had a ton of drivers that didn't even make the show here. Some notable guys that didn't make their way in. We're looking at Cole Howard, Paul French, Jordan Bohannon, Andrew Beavers, Billy O. Smith, and Bo Jordan. Big night of guys, man. So we only took 12 Flowers. It was about 20 some trucks that showed up. So and Chris Beavers, he's part of Flowers Motorsports there. Good to see him out there, and he tried. I mean, best lap for him was the 13.767.
Yeah, Beavers is he's been out there working more for the team. He's been in the chat with him several times. Him and Josh Evans, a regular guy that comes in the chat with us, they run a lot of the trucks. So Beavers is starting to get more into the truck. So the more he gets in it, the better he'll get.
Yeah, absolutely. And we look at the incident points here, and this guy here, Joshua Barley, only managed to get four out of the whole race there. Four incident points, Flowers at LA Coliseum, and he did all 89 laps. So that's pretty darn impressive.
That is really impressive for the LA Coliseum. Uh, yeah, you can really rack up the incidents there. But with four incidents, 89 laps, that's very impressive.
Absolutely, and you've seen that's exactly what Billy Van Meter did there. He had 26 incident points, so he was racking them up as you talked about there, leading everybody by about 10 more than the last guy. So rough night for Bill there as he finished the number 10 spot, started ninth. It was a rough go for the Chaos guys. So congratulations again to Brandon Parks on the big win in the Truck Series, and we'll shoot some attention now over to the Next Level Racers Xfinity Series. So we'll pull those guys up here. We'll take a look at what exactly they have going on as we look at the points here going into the next race for the Xfinity Series. Brandon Parks leading at 363 to 347. Smolden in 2 and Anthony Monroe in a tight battle there for the top 3 with Andrew 339, Rafe, Adam Herr, Joshua, and Michael all in contention there. Flowers, everybody digging for a championship in the Xfinity Series still.
Yeah, that looks like a tight battle going on there. What was it? 333 was the lowest.
Yep.
I think that's what I seen there.
Yep, they were definitely battling all the way through the back there. With 2 races left, Sonoma is going to play the wild card here coming up, well, just in about 10 hours or so. These guys will be running again here. But looking at the race from Daytona Super Speedway, the Oval Edition here, Justin Smolden took care of business out there. He started in the 15th spot, brung home the win, Flowers. That's pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, that is very impressive going from the 15 to the win. Um, how many laps was this race?
Laps were set at 20, and right behind him is his teammate. He started 16th and finished second.
Wow, 20 laps from 15th and 16th up to first and second. That is definitely impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And these guys out here, they were not messing around. And incident points for both those only set at 4 each. So a couple of the lowest guys involved in incidents there, Smolden and Cole Howard, and Andrew Irwin going to bring it home in that number 3 spot. And like I said, a lot of good racing there at Daytona, and a lot another good group of guys out here. We took everybody. Looks like we had 16 of them on the property, and yeah, so a lot of good racing all around the board there with AJ out there, Billy O. Smith, Rave, Van Meter, Bo Jordan, Adam Herr, all the guys back there. Um, but yeah, other than that, it's just Daytona Super Speedway and the Xfinity Series. So wild card race coming up though. Flowers there with Sonoma. That could change a lot of people's days.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it can definitely change it with a type of race like that coming up there.
Awesome work. So there you have it. That's how that's going to work there. But yeah, your number 1 guy in qualifying, AJ. AJ getting it done out there for Next Level Racers. Your number 2 after qualifying was Anthony Monroe, Rafe there, and Joshua and Billy Van Meter. So good little run there for the Broken Axle Motorsports guys, setting 2 and 3, and then Chaos Motorsports in that number 5 and 6 spot, or excuse me, the 4 and 5. So good run those for those guys in the Xfinity Series at Daytona, and we'll leave that asphalt stuff to them guys. So thanks again for Brandon Parks and everybody over at Next Level Racers for that awesome series. So we'll jump now, change some direction, go over to the dirt side of things. I know that's Flowers' favorite area.
It definitely is. That is my wheel ground. That's where I come from. I have a background of dirt racing. Uh, ever since I was little, that's all I've known. You know, as far as racing is dirt track.
Awesome, and you're going to see it here tonight, so or on Tuesday here. So looking at what we got here for the 410 sprints, as of right now, your guy in the number 1 spot, Chris Beavers for Flowers Motorsports at a 9:31. Daniel Lucas also racing for your team there. Flowers in the number 2 spot. Smolden in the 3, Wyatt Walker, Jamie Kephart in that 5, Jesse Gordon pretty much the last guy out here as the season's getting ready to end there. But good run so far in the sprint cars for Flowers Motorsports. Give us a breakdown there, Flowers.
Yeah, definitely. Those two guys, I definitely do know. They have raced every single race. Some of the finishes I'm not too sure about, but Daniel, he's had a lot of good runs here lately. And Beavers, I don't know if he's been qualifying so well, but he has been working his way up to the front in most of the races. So that's probably got something to do with those two being up 1 and 2 there.
Yeah, I would definitely say that's definitely going to play a part in it as we look at the race here at Lernerville. And it was an exciting race from the 410s all the way down to the dirt street stocks without having any wall on the outside. A lot of guys went down and visited the hot dog stand a little sooner than they wanted, but Looking at qualifying here, qualifying popped off good. You had Ty there as number one qualifier, Daniel Lucas in the two, and Chris Beavers in that three spot for qualifying. And your heat races went Beavers taking care of one, Daniel Lucas taking care of number two, and then the feature popped off, and that's where Jamie Kephart shined. He started in the sixth spot and ended up winning it. Flowers, big run for him.
Oh yeah, Kephart. He's been really good this year in these sprint cars. He's really surprised me. I've seen a lot of top threes out of him in these sprint cars, and well, usually Kephart, he's not a sprint car guy. He's more of a late model and street stocks type person.
Yeah, absolutely. So, him bringing home the big win in the 410s, and that's what I told him when we were talking about it throughout the week on Tuesday after that race. I was like, man, that's normally been his hiccup spot. So when he wants to sweep the night, and it's normally the 410s that bite him because Smolden's so dominant in the 410s. And you see Smolden here qualified seventh, finished seventh. Just not a track that Justin wanted to be at, I guess. So he was happy to get it done. He disconnected after lap 16, or 16 laps down. So a rough night for Smolden, Flowers.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just the track for Smolin, um, or maybe he went over to the hot dog stand a little early. But yeah, definitely, if you go off that track, you might as well call it a night. Almost, unless you get back up on the. I have seen people go off and get right back on it, and can stay right in it, but most of the time that's not the case, and especially probably in these sprint cars.
Yeah, the sprint cars are definitely another animal. Not having that wall to lean on just a little bit sends them right over the top. So great win again from Kephart in the 410s, tying the two, and Chris Beavers in that number three spot. They were the only guys on the lead lap, so great run for them guys. And we'll take a look here at what we had right after that. I believe we had the 358 modifieds, the Walker Ridge Plantation 358 modifieds were coming up next, and those were also at at Lernerville. And Flowers, what do you think about the 358 modifieds at a track with no wall?
Well, the 358s ain't so bad because you don't have near as much motor. Um, they can rip the lip without you know going over. You don't have so much momentum and speed going into that corner, and then when you hit the lip, sometimes you can catch it just right. But if the track slicks off, those things, it's rough. It's rough ripping the lip, and I definitely figured that out myself at Lernerville.
Yeah, and we see it here as we're looking at some of the point standings for the Walker Ridge 358 modifieds, and no surprise there. The weapon himself, Wyatt Walker, on top, 9-10 there, 3 wins, average start fourth, and average finish fifth, and doing a great job. He's got a good sized lead over Chris Beavers in the two, Daniel Lucas in the three, the California kid Jesse Gordon in the four, Smolden in the five, Kephart in the six, and Blake Doyle in the seven. Then it really starts to fall off around that 11 spot down there, and it's been a great season overall. A lot of those top seven guys up there, six guys, have raced every race, Flowers, and it really shows when you see totals like that.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely the main thing in a lot of this stuff I've learned. If you make the races and race, you may finish bad, but you're still going to be okay in points. It's not going to put you way off in the points as long as you race it. And you can't just race one or two laps because you do get points for every lap that you complete. So, like if I wreck, I'll come back on, even though I'm a few laps down, and try and pick up those points.
Oh yeah, you every point matters. I mean, especially when you're racing in a long season like this here. So we'll jump right into it. 358s at Lernerville. We take a look at qualifying as they get them rolled off there. The new acquired Canadian driver Jake there for Chaos Motorsports, and Chaos said, "Hey, look, we're going to try to be a threat in all the series this year." And they wasn't messing around. They went out and grabbed him a Canadian up north, and Jake put down a blistering time out there. I mean, dude, he killed it, and 15-7. 5.8 in qualifying and damn near blew the doors off your second place guy, and that was Blake Doyle. And he's nobody to shrug your shoulders at. He's very quick too at a 15.792. So when you can go a few hundreds quicker than somebody, you got it going on. So qualifying went like that, and then we went right into heat number one. The Canadian took care of business for Chaos and took care of number one there. Number two was for Flowers Motorsports. Blake Doyle took care of business in heat number two. And then we went right into the feature, Flowers. And looking at that feature there, do you see anything a little out of the whack?
Well, it don't look like Blake Doyle is up there, and I can't tell exactly who that is you got highlighted there.
That's going to be
But
Jamie Kephart. So Jamie Kephart qualified third, bumped himself back to the number 7 spot. So it was a rough one for him. And we talked about it. He took care of business in the 410s, and then it came over to the 358s, and we're like, hey, maybe he's always pretty solid in them. So we thought the night was going to go a little bit better for him, but no, it was Jake. Jake took care of the win in the feature. The Canadian for Chaos Motorsports taking the 1 spot, the weapon in the 2, and Justin Smolden round out your top 3. Logan Wentz out there for the 4, and Blake Doyle in the top 5. And I look at the names back there in that 7th, 8th, and 9th spot. Jamie Kephart in the 7, Jesse Gordon in the 8, and Chris Beavers in that 9. You normally don't see those names at the tail end of your grid at the end of the race.
No, definitely not Jamie Kephart. Normally, in that order, Jamie Kephart, Jess Gordon, and Chris Beavers, if I'm not mistaken, Nighthawk, I think it's been your top 3 in a few of these 358 races this season. Definitely Kephart getting a few wins. That's definitely not like Kephart.
No, that's definitely not like Kephart. And we look at the top 3 again, Jake, Wyatt, and Smolden. All 3 of those drivers, 0 incident points in 30 laps at Lernerville. That's pretty darn impressive, Flowers.
Oh, definitely. The incident points, the only time you'll actually get incident points on this track is if you spin out or if you hit the outside wall. So they must have had a pretty smooth race. Everything went pretty smooth for them. So uh, whenever it goes smooth, that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations again to Jake and everybody over Chaos. Big win there for them. It's been a long time since Chaos has been in victory lane on the dirt side. So we'll head over now to the super late models here, the FMS Dirt Super Late Model Series. And this points are tightening up with 1 race left to go at Bristol here in 2 weeks. Your guy on top, Jamie Kephart, 4.87 in the points, 6 wins. Average start third and average finish is second. Right behind him, tied in points, Jesse Gordon with 4.87 also. And 1 point back from them, the weapon, Wyatt Walker, in the 3rd spot. Daniel Lucas in the 4, Chris Beavers in the 5, Jonathan Flowers in the 6. The 7 is Blake Doyle. And that's about your cutoff right there. So, Johnny, you're still in the mix here in the top 6 in points. You got anything for these boys going into Bristol in 13 days?
Well, we're going to give it our best effort. If I'm looking at it correct, Nighthawk, it looks like I'm about 5 points behind the leader, which is doable. You can actually catch up the points in that. That's 5 laps basically. So, I mean, it's not that easy to do, but it's doable.
Well, especially now we go back and we talked about that hiccup from Kephart in the 358s. If he has that mistake again in the super late models in 13 days or whenever it is, that's gonna put you up there in the top 3 easily. He cannot afford another bad day on the track. Can't happen. So
No, definitely not.
yeah, definitely not. So we're going to look here at the super late models here, qualifying underway. And we talked about them there. Jamie Kephart qualified number 1 there. Blake Doyle in the 2. Wyatt Walker in the 3. Jesse in the 4. Daniel in the 5. Chris Beavers in the 6. 7 Flowers and Smolden in that number 8 spot. And good looking times there from qualifying. Heat number 1 was taken care of by Jamie Kephart, the Choice Inc. Esports team. Jesse Gordon in the number 2 spot for the Capsule Time Motorsports guys. Taking a look at the race here, Jamie Kephart took care of business in race number 3 of the night there. Got 0 incident points across the board, led all 30 laps, and never looked back. And that's a pretty darn good night, Flowers, for Kephart.
Yeah, that sounds about more like the Kephart that I can remember as far as dirt goes and late models. Um, I mean, I know 358s is not his thing, but Kephart, he's been winning in them and he's doing a really good job in them. But he must have had a bad race. That's all I know. But looks like he bounced back and had a great race in the super late models.
Yeah, he did had a great race there, man. Led all 30 laps. Blake Doyle in the two, and Jesse Gordon rounds out your top three in them super late models. And congratulations again to Kephart on the big win there. 0 incident points for him and Blake Doyle. Everybody else ran it pretty clean. Everybody else was under six. Great run for those guys. And break it down for us a little bit here, Flowers. We talked about the 358s not having a whole lot of power, so the lip not really being a big deal. In these super late models, I know we're going to transfer over to the limiteds next season. For the guys that haven't caught on to that yet, next year we'll run the 410s. We're going to have the Walker Ridge Plantation 358 modifieds back on board, and then we're going to run alternate. We're going to run limited late models, and then every other week the dirt street stocks. But back to what I talked about with these supers here at Lernerville, Flowers. That power band coming to effect there with no wall.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. With that kind of power at Lernerville, that's why I put this on the schedule because I know that can throw a curveball for some people, and it would for me. But the whole night, the reason I got a top five really is because I drove the bottom of the racetrack. Lernerville, it's not a top racetrack in real life until the end of the race. It's not top dominant like it is on iRacing, but for iRacing, it's top all the time. I feel like iRacing's fixed it some where you can run the bottom because I didn't have a bad night in those. I think I finished fifth in those, and well, I've been uh, I've been struggling in the super late models this year, but we had a pretty decent night, and definitely Jamie Kephart. No surprise to see him win in those, but yeah, as you were saying, you can go off the edge very easily in those, and if there's any track state up there, it's hard to rip the lip with that kind of power.
I can only imagine, as we saw a lot of guys timber off the backside of the track there. And we're going to break down the speed a little bit here when we get into the FMS Dirt Street Stock Series here. And that's being controlled by Blake Doyle in the point standings here. Chris Beavers in the two, Jesse Gordon in that number three spot. And then goes Daniel Lucas, Wyatt Walker, Jamie Kephart, and Jonathan Flowers again right there at the cutoff spot. And I tell you, it's another one of these tight battles here. It's got one race left to go at Bristol for these guys, and they do have one makeup race at Volusia that will do so. Two races technically, same for my super guys out there. So they do technically have two races left. But man, I tell you, Flowers, these points are tight.
Yeah, definitely. And I do want to talk about one other thing while we're in this here. If you look, Blake Doyle has 6 wins in the street stocks. And if you look down at Jamie, who has over the years dominated this class, is one win this year.
Yeah, that's a valid point. Jamie Kephart definitely multiple dirt street stocks championships in the Nitehawk weekly racing series, and he's won a lot of championships. And Blake Doyle just signed up with your team earlier this year, and he's done great things on the dirt. I mean, he's definitely put Kephart not only in check, but maybe checkmate because Kephart may not even finish in the top three in points. Flowers.
Yeah, it's definitely looking like if Kephart don't step up his game, he may not even get a dirt street stock trophy this season. So he can still get there. He's not too far off, but he's going to have to step up his game in order to get one of those trophies.
Absolutely, and it's not something like you said. That's a very valid point you brought up. That's something that we haven't seen from Kephart. I mean, dirt street stocks. That's been his bread and butter. We talked about it for years. Now that we're going on to year number two now of the series in the league, and I tell you, I mean, it has. It's been a Kephart driven dirt street stocks. You want to show up to street stocks, you better bring your A game because Kephart's going to either beat you or he's going to lap you. So Yeah, we've seen it there. Proof in the pudding, number 6 in points. We'll see if Kephart steps it up with Bristol and Volusia on the schedule here. And we'll take a look at the results here for Lernerville, as these guys had some fun with no wall also. And we jump right in it. These guys don't have any heat races or anything. They're straight qualify and run the feature. And once again, we talked about it. Blake Doyle just one step ahead there of Jamie Kephart in qualifying. Blake Doyle, number 1, Jamie Kephart in the 2. Jake in the 3. We see the Canadian back out for Chaos running some street stocks. Chris Beavers in the 4. The 5 of Jesse Gordon, Wyatt Walker in the 6. Daniel Lucas in the 7, and Jonathan Flowers in the number 8 spot here in qualifying. And we take a look into the feature where it was won by Blake Doyle. One again ahead of Jamie Kephart. Kephart in the 2, Beavers in the 3, Wyatt Walker in the 4. Jesse Gordon rounds out your top 5. And taking a look here, looking at the Canadian here for Chaos in the number 7 spot. Got a lot of damage early in this one. Flowers, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I don't know. He started out really well with the 410s, and it just looks like Jake drifted off in the other races there. He qualified good in 358s, and then he just went down in the super late models. Or was he even in the super? I can't even remember if he
I do
was
not
in the
believe he was in the
supers.
supers. I do not believe so. No,
Okay.
he came right on in. So yeah, this was his third race of the night, and like you said, qualified third, finished 7th. Not something that you normally see there, but Blake Doyle, like I said, picking up the big win there, laying down the quick time 18:356. 0 incident points for him at Kephart. Class act up there for 1 and 2. And Kephart was closing this race in. I do all the broadcasts, and I was watching this one really closely. It was a really tight battle between him and Jamie Kephart. And same thing with Flowers, or excuse me, Beavers and Walker. No love missing between those two guys. We saw the incident happen, and if you haven't saw it, go back and check it out on the YouTube video, the Dirt Street Stock race at Lernerville. You'll see the cameras were ISO'd on Beavers and Walker, and those guys were really getting after each other. Flowers.
Yeah, I was in the Discord with Beavers. He got frustrated with that. And then when the caution came out, you gave Wyatt Walker the EOL for what had happened. And Beavers like, okay, I don't feel so bad now. And Blake was in the Discord. He was talking about how close of a race him and Kephart were having. But once we finish up here, Nitehawk, I'll talk to you more about uh, Kephart coming to Discord and we talk. So
Awesome. Good stuff right there. So congratulations again, Blake Doyle taking the win. Jamie in the 2, and Beavers rounds out your top 3 in those street stocks. And that's going to wrap it up for the dirt side of things here in this episode. And we're going to go ahead and get over to the asphalt side of things, where the Choice Inc. Modified Tour came back on for another great season. Thanks again to Jay Bones and everybody over at ChoiceIncCT.com for coming on board for another amazing tour mod season. And it should be a dandy, as we're going to alternate the tour mods this year with the super late models. So this Wednesday night, tour mods will take the week off. We'll bring out the supers out of the trailer and get them going. They started their season at 5 Flags. The races have been increased over here, so these guys are now running 100-lap races, Flowers, on the asphalt.
yeah, definitely. That's not too bad for them, but that's a pretty good haul for them.
Well, it's a when I say it's not too bad, when you say it's not too bad, it's not really. But considering most of these guys have been racing in the league now for over a year or so, and when it come to modified night, it was like, yeah, maybe a 40 or 50 lap kind of race. You know what I mean? So now they're coming into
Yeah,
it, and it's like, oh shit, it's double that. Now
double. Okay.
can't burn our tires up as early. We got to be a little more consistent on the things, and that's something we didn't see there. Consistency coming from your winner there, Michael, out of New York. It was the 14 incident points for him. Yeah, we'll start off with him, and we'll go back down through the heat races and all that. But like I said, Michael did pick up the win there, but he did receive a 10-point negative shot to his point standings there because of 14 incident points. And he was just coming through the guys like a wrecking ball. A couple guys posted about it in the post-race interview on the YouTube video. You can find that. They were not very happy with Michael at all and the way he was driving way over his head there. But he did pick up the win, but it took him 14 incident points to get it. So that's not where you want to be here. But qualifying went off without a hitch. We had 15 modified show up on week number 1, and Qualifying went to the Canadian there again for Chaos Motorsports number 1. Jake took care of business. Billy Van Meter into 2. Michael into 3. Gordon into 4. Lloyd Moore. Good to see Lloyd back out there in that number 5 spot. Divers into 6. Anthony Monroe in that number 7 spot. Eric in the 8. Ty in the 9. Rafe in the 10. Joshua in the 11. Billy O. Smith in that 12. Jack over at the 13. Bo in the 14. And Matthew in the 15 spot here. And a lot of cars out here, Flowers, for the week number 1.
That 15 cars, that's a good car count for the modifieds. Definitely a good car count.
So we'll take a look here at heat number 1. Went really well. Starting off with Jake out of Canada for Chaos. He took care of business. Gordon in the 2. Monroe in the 3. Rafe in the 4. And Jack in the 5 there. So a good heat race there. And congrats to Jake. Heat number 2 was another Chaos win. Billy Van Meter in the 1. Lloyd Moore in the 2. Eric in the 3. Joshua in the 4. And Bo Jordan in that number 5 spot. And then we thought, hey, could it be a Chaos Motorsports sweep in the heat races? Could it happen in week number 1? So it was going to have to take Joshua Divers to win it. And in that race, he had Michael out of New York, Matthew there, Billy O. Smith, and Ty. Some really fast young drivers. And Joshua just fell up short. Number 2 for Joshua. So Michael out of New York took care of business in his heat race. Joshua Divers wanted nothing more. He needed to go up one more spot, Flowers, to have that Chaos Motorsports heat race sweep, which is something we have never seen as a team sweep all 3 heat races.
That definitely would have been a great accomplishment for Chaos. Joshua Divers, he's one of those guys that's very capable of doing so. But well, I gotta say, I've been watching some of those races, and Michael is no slouch. He's hard to beat, so
Yeah,
that doesn't surprise that he won that there in that hole.
Yeah, very hard to beat. Like I said, especially the man out of New York, very very quick, 15.544. Pretty good time for him. But Ty, the young man out of New England, laid down the fast lap in that one there, 15.541. So a lot of fast guys there. So we go into the feature, and I take all 15, something we never really do. We normally chop it down to 10 or 12, whatever, try to tighten up the field. But we went ahead and we took all 15. Not bad. 100 laps, 4 cautions is what we had. We had 6 lead changes. We had 18 laps of caution laps. So we did get in some really good racing late. Average lap time here at Five Flags was a 19.592. That's with all the drivers combined. It was a really nice night here. So Michael picked up the win, but like I said, it cost him 10 championship points in doing it. So we'll talk about the point standings here in just a bit after this. But Billy Van Meter in the 2, Jesse Gordon in that number 3 spot, Joshua Divers in the 4. Eric rounds out your top 5. So Eric McCarthy right there working his way, and he tried to get something done there. Rafe in the 6, Lloyd Moore, Matthew, Jake, Billy O. Smith, Anthony, Jack, Joshua, Ty, and Bo Jordan round out your field there. And Flowers, anything that you see there on that feature sheet that maybe stood out or maybe looks a little off to you?
Well, I do see 4 people were disqualified, but I don't know what your threshold for those are on the incidents. But as I'm looking, I see 18, 16, 16, 18 incidents. That's a lot of incidents. I don't know. Do they rack them up quick on the asphalt, or is it just the dirt that it's harder to get incidents?
Well, here's the deal. So on the on the tour mods, they run a 16 incident point cap. 16. So once they hit 16, they get thrown out of the race automatically. And you've seen that exactly what you just said. Disqualification went to Jake. Disqualification to Billy O. Smith, Anthony Monroe, Jack. Those guys were all disqualified for hitting that 16 incident point cap. And that's what we said. Your leader, your winner, had 14. So he damn near came close to decapitating himself, but he was one bump away.
One bump away, yes.
And that's pretty wild. So, but yeah, that's the breakdown there. And congratulations again to Michael on the big win. And like I said, Flowers, these tour mods, they're an animal, man. These guys this is gonna be a long season for them.
Oh yeah, definitely. First race of the night, and you see 4 people disqualified from incidents. It's gonna be quite the season. how many races they got this season?
I believe they're running 10. So yeah, they got a long way to go, and they're
Yeah.
alternating. So they run every other week. So it's a really long season, but it's really not. So yeah, you got to get in your good races when you can here. So we're gonna jump over now to the Capsule of Time ARCA series, where it's dominated by Jesse Gordon. 360 points is what he's got in the number one spot. Anthony Monroe 60 points back in the number two spot. So Jesse Gordon damn near has this championship wrapped up. And Brandon Parks in the two spot at 270. So a lot of these guys in the back here are going to have a hard time catching them, as we only got 3 races left to go. Talladega, Bristol, and Martinsville Speedway. Three of the unique tracks in the in NASCAR here as they get ready to get them fired up here. And we're going to take a look here at how last week's race went at Hickory Motor Speedway. And Hickory's a very unique track. One corner a little bit tighter than the other. You got to really use that brake to kind of get in there. So average lap time was an 18.652 in the feature. We did 42 laps, 3 cautions, 11 caution laps, and 0 lead changes because nobody could get around the California kid, Jesse Gordon Flowers. He dominated this ARCA race.
Yeah, and if he keeps dominating, which he probably don't even have to dominate now, as long as he runs the last 3 races, I don't know that anybody can catch him in the points. I think he's got that sewed up. But qualifying on the pole, leading every lap, I mean, he's tough to beat. Uh, Jesse Gordon, I've watched him a little bit on his dirt stuff he does in California. And, well, let's just say he does some interesting racing there on the dirt, the figure eight. But I don't know if you've seen that Nighthawk, but it looks like it could be fun, but very dangerous. But yeah, Jesse seems like he's got this one wrapped up, and yeah.
Yeah, all the way as soon as he got the car out of the box there, qualified very quick, 14.586. Really good job there in the 4 laps of qualifying for the California kid, and they didn't look back in the race. Like I said, led all 42 laps. Right behind him, Brandon Parks, really close race in there. Anthony Monroe bringing it home in the 3 spot for Broken Axle Motorsports. Jake in the 4, and Matthew rounds out your top 5. So once again, another great night for Jesse Gordon. And like I said, incident counts here, and these guys, they didn't really do too much bumping. Your top 2 guys, 0 incident points across the board. Very respectable driving between Jesse Gordon and Brandon Parks. So now we're going to get into everybody's favorite part of the podcast. And I know it took us about 38 minutes to get here, and I appreciate Flowers being here with us tonight. And we're going to do some studs and duds, some duds and studs, however you want to put it. We're going to pick the best of the best and maybe not so good of the rest. So, being week number 1 of the podcast coming back in 2023, I'm going to give Flowers the honor of picking the dud this week. It could be either dirt or it could be asphalt, whatever you choose, you can pick. So with this moment here, we'll give the floor to Jonathan Flowers here, and he's going to give you his dud for week number 1 in the 2023 season. Jonathan Flowers, who's going to be the first dud of the year?
Well, I hate to say it, but I'm definitely gonna have to go with Billy Van Meter. Van Meter struggling in the earlier races I've seen. He did have one really good heat race. I can't remember where he finished in that one race, but if you look in this particular race, he's 6th. He's one of these guys you normally see in the top 3 in most of these races. And I don't know where these guys stood on incidents, but yeah, that would be my dud.
All right, so there you go. His dud is Billy Van Meter is his dud for the first week in the 2023 season. All right, and my stud for the week number 1, it's got to go to the Canadian Jake for Chaos Motorsports. So you may have one dud on the team, but you got a stud on the other. Jake did a great job all week long for the team, man. All races, he did a great job from Monday through Wednesday, finding himself qualified on the pole, laying down some fast laps, finding himself consistently in the top 3, battling for championship points already. And what a great addition to Chaos Motorsports for week number 1. Jake from Canada going to be your stud. So that's going to wrap it up for the Nitehawk Motorsports Weekly Racing Night podcast. Jonathan Flowers is going to be with us as much as he can, so you'll hear that voice all year long. And if you disagree or maybe agree, put it in the comments section. Let us hear your duds and studs, okay? I mean, the worst that could happen is you could agree with Flowers. Don't ever happen very much, but it could, right, Flowers? I mean, maybe.
That's right. That's right.
They might agree with you. So, all right, guys, that's it for me. Nitehawk signing off. Flowers, I appreciate you, brother.
All right. Later.
All right, guys, we'll see you next Sunday night. Be ready to roll. Have a great week, boys.